Hey, happy Tuesday, everyone. I hope I'm audible. Let's start the session. Can you just confirm the audio through the chat option? So thank you, team, for confirming. So audio has been loud and clear. Yeah, thank you, team. Good day, everyone. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to day two. So yesterday we had a discussion about Azure fundamentals. We had a discussion about basics of Azure networking. We understood the need of Azure networking in a cloud infrastructure. We tried for comparing on-premises and cloud Azure Vnic, basically the concept we are using called Azure networking here. And finally, we have been reached a situation like how to create a Vnic inside a cloud infrastructure. So these are the few points so far we have been discussed on in a cloud side. Right now we have seen how to create a Vnic. We understood what is the need of a Vnic, and right now we understood in case if someone want to create a or someone want to make a communication between different resources which has been created on in a cloud, how the communication is been established. We understood the need or the concept of a Vnic here. Now today we are going to discuss about a topic called IP address. So we are going to discuss about a topic called IP address, how IP address has been configured on in a cloud, what are the options has been available on in a cloud, or how IP address has been assigned to a computers or a device inside a cloud infrastructure. I hope all are heard about two important terms in a networking concept. One is being known as IP address, and the second one is being known as a MAC address, or we will be using a term called physical address, right? We used to use both the terms, right? We used to use a term called MAC address. We used to use a term called, sometimes we used to use the term called physical address also. Can you comment on in the chat? What is the difference between MAC address and physical address or IP address? Can you comment it on the chat? Have you heard about a term called MAC address? Can you comment it on the chat? Have you heard about a term called MAC address? Yes, what it is basically the engine number of your network interface card, right? So whatever number is right now, if you take your mobile is got a IME number, right? There is a unique number is got. So it's a unique identifier or it's a unique number of your network interface card that basically known as MAC address, right? MAC address is the number. Normally we used to use it like in case if you want to block any website or you want to make some kind of a traffic control, even in a Wi-Fi, if you want to block, we used to block it with the help of the device number. So basically known as media access control address. That is a unique identifier or a unique number. Normally it is being used assigned to a network interface card. So that's already we are familiar. That's already it's been the same way it has been working on in a cloud. The same concept is been using here also. So whatever Vnic is been created on in a cloud, the same number or the MAC address is been assigned to your NIC also. In case if you created a Vnic, that device or that network interface card, that device also it's got a unique number. Now today I'm going to discuss about how IP address is been assigned on in a cloud. Now if you're taking it on premises, you may be heard about two versions of IP address, right? You may be heard about IP version 4 and IP version 6 also. Can you comment it on the chat? What is the current version or what is the current version of IP address currently you are using in your project or in your company? Can you comment it on the chat? Is it IP version 4 or is it IP version 6? Can you comment it on the chat? Abdul is saying he's using IP version 4. Rashid also has been using version 4. Zakaria also has been using version 4. Mainur, Imran, Ahmad. Okay. I think Franklin has got some migration project is look like it's going on because Franklin has got IP version 6 also. So Franklin, look like there is some migration of IP version to 6 is being started in your organization or in your project, right? Okay, great. That's super. That's like we have a lot of learnings. You'll be there in IP versions 4 to IP version 6 migration. Now, what I'm trying to say here is when you're using a Azure infrastructure, Azure has been supporting IP version 4 and IP version 6 also. Both the versions it's been supported on in a Azure infrastructure. So it depends upon your organization. You have an option to assign IP version 6 or IP version 4 also. So IP version 4 and IP version 6 both are being supported on in a cloud infrastructure. Now, again, if you take this IP version 4 or IP version 6, again, this has been classified as two. You may be heard about a two types. One is known as public IP address, and second one is been known as a private IP address. If you take IP address, again, this has been classified as a two. One is been known as a public IP address or a private IP address. Have you heard about a term public or a private IP address? Anyone heard about a term called public IP address? Can you comment it on the chat? Which situation you are going to use a public IP address? Can you comment it on the chat? Let me see how many of them are familiar with a word called public IP address here. Can you comment it on the chat? Global device identity. Okay. Have you heard about a public IP address? We need to access the internet, then we need a public IP address. Okay. Yes. Now, let me give you a scenario here. When you had a discussion about IP version 4, you may be studied already in your college, or you may be already aware in a network infrastructure. IP address has been classified as a 5. You may be heard about like it's been classified as a class A, class B, class C, class D, and a class E also, right? Have you heard about a classifications or IP address has been how this has been classified? You may be heard like this has been classified as A, B, C, D, E, right? This is the way this has been configured. For example, like if you take a IP address A 0.0.0.2 127.255.255.255. You may be heard about class B has been starting from 128, 128 dot, one second. It's been 128.0.0.0.2, 191.255.255.255. You may be heard class C has been starting from 192 series, 192.0.0.2, 223.255.255.255. And class D, it's been basically starting from 224.0.0.2, 239.255.255. And class E has been basically starting from 240.0.0.2, 255.255.255. Normally, if this classification is start from class A to class E, and if you take a class E, normally we are not using this IP address on in a infrastructure. This basically using for research and development, or we used to say like this has been using for a experiment purpose. So generally we are not assigning a class C IP address. And when you take a class D has been normally assigned to multicast purpose. Normally, if you can able to see on in a cloud infrastructure, class E is been configured on in a class D is been configured in a multicast purpose, and class A to B, C is are the IP address normally we are using on in a IT infrastructure. Now, in a globally, this all IP address has been managed by an organization called IANA. So these are the organization. Globally, this has been managed by all the IP address here. Now, right now we got an IP address from A to C, which is got a billions of IP address here. We cannot use all this IP address on internet, and there is only one set of IP address only can be used internal also. So what IANA has been done, out of this IP address, they told you have a two kind of a situation here. One is called as a external network situation, and one is be like internal network also, right? You have an internal network and you have an external network also. Whenever you are connecting to external, like especially to a internet or outside your boundary of your office, that basically known as external network. Can you go to command prompt and type a command called ipconfig and comment the what is the IP address currently you are getting on in your laptop? Can you do that? An exercise. Can you go to a command prompt and type a command called ipconfig? And can you paste that same IP address on in the chat window? All the members, can you go to command prompt? Yes. Amit, look like you have been connecting in office, right? Amit, are you're connected from office? Yes, I understood. Yes. Rest of the members also, can you go to command prompt and yes. Eric also it's been look like it's been connected from office, right? Eric? Yes. So Ernal has been connecting from home, right? Can you just comment the IP address? Yes. Richard is also it's been connecting from home. So Jakaria has been also it's been connecting from home. Mohammad Imran has been connecting from office. Yes, I can see that 10.0 is actually it's give me yeah. Jimboy is actually has been connected from home, right? So you may be able to see there is a pattern here. Krishna also has been connected from home. So you may be using a Wi-Fi device, right? So this is the IP address. You can able to see a pattern here, right? We have a people connected from Malaysia, Philippines, India, Nepal, UK, and a different location has been connected. But you may be able to see the pattern has been same here, right? You may be able to see the pattern. You can able to see here. It's been like uh, IP address pattern. You can able to see it's almost the same here. So what IN has been done? IN has been told you have an IP address from A to C, but you will not be able to use all the IP address in internet, because when you use the internet or when you use an external network, you need an IP address which has been routable in internet. So the technical word we used to use it in internet, it's basically known as routable, right? You can able to see, you can able to see it's a routable IP address here. You have a option has been available, like it's a routable IP address here. See, so it's been a routable IP address here. So you can able to see there is a routable IP address has been available on in a internet also. So if you can able to see here, you have a routable IP address has been available on in a cloud, and you can able to see this is the kind of information you can able to see on in a cloud here. Now, if you see this cloud scenario here, you have a routable IP address has been available. Now, what Microsoft is saying, not Microsoft, INA is saying, you have an IP address starting from class A to E. One set of IP address only you can able to use in internet. So I'll tell you out of this A to Z, any IP address. Right now, I hope yes, A to Z has been clear to you. Now, right now we understood there are two IP addresses been available. One is been like a private IP address, and another one is a public IP address. Now, if you take this IP address, any IP address starting from any IP address which you can use in internally, that is known as private IP address. For example, if you take a class A 10.0.0.02, 10.255.255.255, 172 series, 172.16.0.02, 172.31.255.255, any IP address starting from 192.168.0.02, 192.168.255.255. These IP address are known as private IP address. Now, whatever private IP address you are using, this can be used only in an internal network. You will not be able to use it in the internet. So the technically, whatever private IP address you are using, this IP address are not routable in internet. So that may be the right word or a technical reason behind that. So whatever IP address right now on the screen you are using, these IP address are non-routable IP address. In which situation you will be using this? You will be using only for internal network. Whatever network you are using internally, that has been assigned with a private IP address. Now, when it is coming on in a cloud scenario, your VNet, you maybe heard about a term called VNet, that's called a virtual networking. Similar kind of a feature you can able to see in other cloud provider also. In case if you heard about a AWS or a Google, in a AWS, similar kind of a feature is been known as BPC. In a Google Cloud, this is basically known as cloud networking. Now, VNet stands for virtual networking. This is the kind of a networking solution which you are getting in a Azure scenario. So VNet stands for virtual networking. So what I'm trying to say here is when you're configuring a Azure network, VNet is actually assigned with a private IP address. So when we are creating a or when we want to make a communication between different resources, which has been hosted inside your cloud infrastructure. So resources can be a VM or a storage account or a firewall, or it can be any device or a database. If you want to communicate with a within inside Azure network, you need to have a VNet is been required. With the help of a VNet, normally we have been assigning. So that's the important point we need to remember on in a cloud scenario. Now, these are the private IP address. Rest all IP address. It's been working on in a public IP address. Like if you take on other IP address, that has been acting as a public IP address, like 1.0. For example, like if you take a public IP address, any IP address which is been starting from 1.0.0.02, 9.255.255.255, 11.0.0.2, 126.255.255.255, or 128.0.0.2, 172.15.255.255, or you can able to see 172.32.0.02, 172 191.255.255.255, 192.0.0.02, 192.167.255.255, or ending with 192.169.0.02 to 23.255. These all are public IP address. Clear? So you have a public IP address available on in a cloud that has been configured with a public IP address here. Is this point has been clear? So you have a public IP address also available. You have a private IP address also available. Let me give you a lecture note parallelly. So in case if you have any doubt or in case if you have any question, can you comment it on the chat? Let me give you a lecture note for you. Yes, the first octet. Yes, Abdul, you're right. Yes, loopback IP address. Yes, I'm coming to that point. Let me type it a lecture note for you, everyone here. So you can write in heading private IP address. Let me give you lecture note. You can write a heading. Yes. So let me give you lecture note. I'm pasting on the chat. Private IP address. I just pasted the lecture note, requesting everyone to copy that. I hope you can able to copy this one, right? Write a heading private IP address and copy this lecture note. I just pasted on in the chat. Okay, I hope you can able to copy this one, right? I just pasted private IP address lecture note. I hope you are able to copy this one, right? Yes, Abdul said yes. So just want to ensure that you are able to copy this one. Okay, great. Now let me give you public IP address lecture note. Give me a second. Give me a second. Let me type this one. Give me a second. Yes. Next, write the heading public IP address and copy this lecture note. I just pasted on the chat. Write the heading public IP address and copy this one. So this will be helpful for you. Yes. So this is the difference between public IP address and private IP address. So both the lecture note I have been pasted on the chat here. Private IP address normally we are getting a question here from Masood. Masood, it's basically private IP address has been provided by the your device, actually internal devices. Masood, let me give you a scenario. Right now in your home, Masood, you're connected from an office or in a home. Can you comment it on the chat? Masood, can you connected? Masood is saying I'm home, right? Right. How the internet has been? It's been assigned in your home. You may be able to see. You are working in your home. You may be connected to a device in your home, basically known as Wi-Fi access point, right? You have a through a router or a Wi-Fi access point you are getting, and this Wi-Fi access point is being provided by the ISP, internet service provider, and with the help of that you are connecting to internet, right? Now what exactly your ISP has been done, they have assigned a public IP address to you. How many IP address they have been given? They have given only one single IP address. Masood and everyone here, can you click on this link? What is my public IP address? So can you click on this link, Masood, and rest of the members also can try this exercise. Let me give you 1 second. I'm just copying a link. Today morning, my internet is a bit slow. Not sure what happened. I've been contacted my internet service provider also. Give me a second. I'm just trying to get one link for you. Yes. Masood, can you click on this link? I just pasted a link and type me and find out what is the public IP address currently you are using. Mali is asking like a public IP address range. Sure, I can able to send you. Normally, this is a range has been coming. 4.3 billions are coming. Yes, right now, Masood and everyone. Yes, you maybe got a 118, 179.30.1, right? So this is the range you are getting. So all the members right now, it's been commented on the chat. It's got a unique IP address. Now you may be able to see this is the range. Normally you got it. Yes, thank you. Rest of the members can just stop commenting. So yes, all of us got a public IP address here. Now, Melinda, answering to your question, I have been pasted the range on the chat. You can, if you want to copy this public IP address, you can copy that here. I just pasted on in the chat here. No, that is the complete. Give me a second. Jonathan, that's going to be a unique one because depends upon which country you have been connected. All it's been based on that. You may be getting that. Now, I just pasted the public IP address range. Few people are trying to copy this one, work node, lecture node. So this is the public IP address range. I just pasted on the chat. Now, does IP config command show our private? Yes, Melinda. Can you share your screen, Melinda, so I can able to show you this one? Uh, or Melinda, can you just go into a command prompt and type IP config? Go to command prompt, go to run, and type a command CMD. You will be taken into a command prompt. There you can able to type a command called IP config. That will give you a details about your what is the current IP address is been configured. Now, Masood, we are maybe Isaka, your IP version 6 is been not using in your organization. That the reason is been not dictating here. Now, right now, going back to the discussion here, Masuda was asking like how IP address has been normally assigned. Masuda, it's right now you may be seen you got a public IP address from your vendor. Now, what is your router or Wi-Fi device is doing? This has been again distributing a IP address locally. Your Wi-Fi device got a feature called DHCP. Whatever device currently in your home, it's been using the network device. It's been using that is been creating a private IP address and distributing some IP address internally. DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. With the help of that, your Wi-Fi device is actually distributing an IP address. That is in a normal way. Now, when you go back to your office, how your office laptop is getting an IP address? The moment you reached office, you open your laptop in your office. Either you may connect to um, Wi-Fi, or in your office you may be remembering like you may be connected a RJ45 cable into a IO port. IO port is being connected to a switch in your network. You will have a server is been available. Basically, this is been known as DHCP server on top of your operating system. You will have a feature is been installed. Similar kind of a feature you can able to see on a network device also, that basically known as dynamic host configuration protocol. Is this point is clear? You can able to see in the morning, you can able to see the moment when you connect it in office, you can able to connect it in the morning, in the moment when you connect your one, automatically this has been provided by the vendor. Now when you go back to IP address range, this is the way internally or externally the IP address is been allotted. Now when it is coming on in a Azure scenario, one second, I'm just putting this call on hold for a minute. Okay, so I hope you are clear about what is a private IP address and a public IP address here. Now, when it is coming on into a cloud scenario, uh, Masood has been completely depends upon which country you have been connected, and it's been completely upon which region you have been selected. So this ISP or the IANA has been allotting a unique IP address. That the reason you may be able to see on in a chat, we have a people from a different organizations. People has been getting a different unique IP address here, right? You may be seen this uh, difference here, right? You have seen a different pattern, like few people is getting 118, few people is getting 21, right? uh, no, Malinda, it's been like a private IP address. Normally you will be assigning from this pool only. You don't have any kind of a conflict here, right? Because whether you connected from your Philippines or Nepal or wherever you connect, internal IP address can be any number, right? So this number is always going to be a 10 dot series or 172 series or 192 series. As long as this IP address is goes externally, there will not be any conflict. Now you have an office in Nepal and we have one office in India. Both are being not totally not been connected, right? So you can use the same IP address there. The other reason you may be noticed like in the chat, people is getting same similar kind of a private IP address on in a different place, right? Always the private IP address, Malinda, it's been started with 172 series or a 10 dot series or a 192 series. So that's an internal IP address. And that's the reason I was using a term, whatever private IP address you are using, that has been not routable. I have been used a word called routable, right? So it's been not routable here. So it's been not routable here. Clear? Any questions? If you're good, can you comment it on the chat? If you're good and if you're clear about this concept, can you comment it on the chat if it's good? And yes, okay. So I can see there is a few response on the chat. Requesting all the members to come confirm. Can we go ahead, or is there any concern, or do I need to discuss any question? Because we want the session needs to be fruitful, and we are trying to make this session has been more interactive. So I need your support also. So good. So okay, great. So thank you, team. Now, right now, whatever point so far we have been discussed, that is a general concept. We have seen what is a private IP address, and we have seen how public IP address is been uh, configured. Now we are getting a question here: how this private IP address and public IP address is been assigned in a cloud scenario. Now there is a two important point you need to remember. When we had a discussion about a cloud, we had a discussion about a two finance term. One is been knowing as a capex. Another term we have learned something called as a opex also. Can you comment it on in a chat? What is the difference between a capex and opex? Have you heard about this term? When we had a multiple cloud fundamental session, we had a debate, we had a discussion on what is a opex words and capex words is a opex also, right? So we have a two terminology we have been given, right? So we understood capex stands for capital expenditure. Yes, I'm agreeing with the course answer on the chat. OPEX stands for operational expenditure. So whatever long-term investment which you are doing on in a cloud or in a IT infrastructure, that basically known as capex cost. Any expense that is being related to the ongoing expenses. Any expense that is been the ongoing expenses currently we have, that basically known as OPEX cost. So capex and opex, these are the two terminologies normally we are using. So you have a two financial perspective you have, and you have a capex and opex is been available, and this is the way it's been configured on in a cloud. Now, in case if you're attending the first time, let me give you some lecture note also for you that may be helpful for further reading. So I just pasted few lecture note for you. You can able to see on the chat the difference between capex and opex. I have been pasted on in the chat. So opex stands for operational expenditure. Capex stands for the uh, capital or a long-term investment. For example, like rent or a utility or a bills, or this has been coming under the category of a opex cost. Now, coming on into a cloud scenario, whatever IP address currently we are using, right now we learned you have a public IP address has been available. You have a private IP address has been available. So we have a two type of the IP address we are using. Now, when it is coming on in a cloud, your VNet is going to use private IP address. So the networking which you are going to make inside Azure, that basically known as VNet. So that is being used by the private IP address. And whatever private IP address you are using on in a cloud, there is no cost is been associated with. You don't need to pay anything to Microsoft. Whatever private IP address you are using, it's been completely free. When it is coming on in a public IP address, wherever you need internet or external facing situation you have. For example, when you go to a public IP address, you have a external or a external or a internet facing devices you have. You may be having a, you may be seeing like a, when you create a VM, if the VM is near the internet, you need a public IP address. Or in case if you are using a firewall, you need a public IP address. In case if you are using a load balancers, you need a public IP address. In case if you are using a application gateway, you need a public IP address. So technically, wherever you need an internet or external connection in a Azure, that will have a public IP address. So what I'm trying to say here is when you are using a Azure infrastructure, you have a public IP address is been available, um, where you can able to see wherever internet connection is been needed. You have a public IP address to be used. One important point you need to remember, in case if you're using a public IP address, there is a cost is been associated. What I'm trying to say here is private IP address has been completely free. Public IP address, there is a cost is been associated in Azure. You will have a per hour. You need to pay this cost to Microsoft. Basically known as there is a OPEX cost is been associated with a public IP address. I hope it's been clear to you. If you take a Azure scenario, you have a private IP address is coming that internally we are using, and public IP address wherever you need a internet, we are using a public IP address also. Then there is a cost is been associated. Is this point is been clear to everyone? Then, if you're good, can you comment it on the chat? Thank you, Ko. Thank you, Richie. Abdul. Yes, great. Now, yeah, I'm just waiting. Good to go. Okay, great. Thank you, Robert, Mazood, Muhammad, Chakria, Rodrigue, Rollings, Ekar. Good morning. Bernard, thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, Priyas, thank you. So, let's do one thing. Now, almost an hour now. Now we are going on into the technical side of a public IP address. That's need a long session. So we'll take a 5 minutes refreshment break. We'll just go to we'll do some exercise and within a 5 minutes, and or we'll go to washroom and we just come back. So in a 5 minutes we'll take a quick break and we'll be back. And after break we are moving on into how to create a public IP address on in a cloud scenario. Clear? Good. Thank you, team. So thank you, team. Let's take a short quick break, refreshment break, and come back, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Now, before going for a break, any questions from anyone? I hope you are comfortable and you are clear about so far whatever point we have been discussed. Any questions? I'm taking the answer is silence is yes, and we are breaking for a quick small break. Thank you. I hope all are back. So we have taken a quick short break. If you're back, can you confirm on in the chat? Thank you, Shasha, for confirming. Jakaria, Priyaz, Yonan. Yeah, I think most of the members are back. Yeah, great. So before a break, we were discussing about a point. It's called public IP address and a private IP address. So this is the discussion we are doing before the break. Now we are going to discuss about how this has been coming on in a cloud infrastructure, how a public IP address can be assigned, or in which situation you are able to use public IP address. Now, when it is coming on in a Azure scenario, wherever you need a internet facing devices, I was mentioning like a virtual machine which got a internet, or if you have any internet facing load balancers are available, or in case if you have in use any application gateway, or in case if you are using a firewall, your public IP address is been assigned. So technically you can able to see wherever you are using a um, internet facing resources in your Azure infrastructure, you may be able to see public IP address has been assigned. So I was just giving a some examples, right? I was saying if you take a Microsoft Azure, wherever you need internet. So basically, like if you take a VM, or if you heard about a term called Bastion service, or you have a load balancers, in case if you have any firewall has been available, in case if you have any application gateway has been configured, or in case if you have any VPN gateway has been configured, you may be having a VPN. So these are the few examples. Okay, you may be having a different resources are available on in a Azure. Now, wherever you need an internet, you will be using public IP address. Now, you need to remember an important point. Whenever you're using a public IP address, there are two ways this can be configured. One, this can be configured in a dynamic mode, and this can be configured in a static mode also. Two important points always you need to keep in your mind. Who will be assigned this public IP address? This has been completely assigned by internet service provider. Basically, in a cloud scenario, this has been provided by the cloud service provider. This has been not configured by Sam, or it's been not configured by Ahmad or Abdullah or Robin or Muhammad. It's been completely assigned by the cloud service provider. Now, can you comment what will be the range you are going to get it? You already had in a discussion in the morning, whatever IP address you are going to get it, that is be completely assigned by a CSP, and the range already we have shared in the morning, right? So in case if you are using an IP address, the range which you are going to use it on in a cloud is been completely whatever public IP address range we have from that port is been assigned. Ready? So that is the range normally we are using. Now let's go and create a simple VM. Let's see how this has been assigned a public IP address. For doing this lab, I'm going to create a VM here. So we are trying to see how your IP address has been assigned. So let me give you a scenario. I'm going to create a VM here. Okay, I'm going to create a symbol VM here. Now we are trying to see how public IP address has been assigned to a VM or a device on in a cloud scenario here. So you can able to see like how the public IP address has been assigned here. For doing this lab, I'm going to create a VM in a East US location. I'm going to create a VM in a East US location, and VM name I'm going to give is VM1. So this is the lab. Right now we are going to do here. For doing this lab, let me take you into the cloud portal. I hope you can able to see the cloud portal here, right? So let me enter the password and the details. Give me a second. It's waiting for it's connecting to Azure portal. Look like some timeout issue. Let me, it's been loading. So let's wait for a minute. Right now you may be able to see there is a, yes, I would like to, let me clear this, whatever existing resource group has been available. 1 second, let me, give me a second. So let me do some housekeeping activities here just to ensure that existing resource, everything is got cleared. Otherwise you may get confused. So I don't want that. So let me clear this, some of the resources already been created here. Wait for a minute. Look like a lock was there. That the reason it was not allowing to delete. We have to wait a few minutes here because existing resource deletion is in progress here because we are creating a fresh Abdul is commenting here. This I got confused in the source group. All the, no problem, Abdul. I'll do one thing. Possible like end of the session, we'll have some discussion about resource and resource group. Is that fine? Because I don't want to divert from the actual agenda. So possible like end of the session, I'll take your question. Please remind me. I'll try to help you and I'll try to uh, avoid your confusions. Okay. So possible like end of the session, we'll have a discussion about resource group. Please remind me. Rest of the members also, in case if you have similar kind of a confusion or some topic always it's been bothering you, please let me know. I'll try to help you. So we need to wait 2-3 minutes because deletion is in progress here. So we need to wait for this to complete. Otherwise we may get confusion here. Let's wait. one delete one resource group is got deleted here. We are waiting for the orange resource group to get deleted here right now on the screen on the notification area. So whatever bell icon we are seeing here, that basically known as notification area. In the notification area you may be able to see this deletion is in progress here. Because if I'm going right ahead with this resource group, the first time you're creating a network, you may get confused. I want to avoid that. That's the reason I'm just deleting the existing groups or details here. So let's wait. So right now the deletion is progress. Look like a deletion is got some resource group or cannot be this existing resources. Some issue we have been faced. Let me see. Look like some vault. Let me try to delete this first. Getting some error message for the vault. Some private endpoints. Okay, let's leave this one. Don't worry about that. I'll take this one in a separate one. Now, right now, let's go and create a virtual machine here. Okay, right now you may be able to see we have a different subscription has been available here. I can able to see Abdul has been commented something on the chat saying that which one we need to delete. Abdul, this was my account has got some old resources. I don't want the people to get confused here. That's the reason I was just trying to delete old resources here. Right now we are going to create a VM here. We are discussing about a term called public IP address. We are trying to see how public IP address has been assigned on in a cloud infrastructure. Let me create a VM. I'm going to create a VM in a North Europe. I'm just giving a name. It's called production. I'm just giving a resource group name. The VM name I'm giving it's a web one. The data center which I'm going to create it here, it's a North Europe. I just given North Europe here and leave all this point aside. TRG admins and just give this details. Let's go and review and create it here. Let's review and create. Right now, we are discussing about creation of a public IP address. Create a VM. Right now, I'm doing a creation of a VM here. Let's wait for this to validation to complete. Right now, this creation of let's wait for this VM to complete. Right now, you may be able to see. Right now, you may be able to see the VM is got created here. When you go to the cloud portal, you may be able to see a VM has been created on in the respective region. You can able to see web one is been created. In which data center this has been created? It's been created in the North Europe. You may be able to see automatically the private public IP address is got assigned, right? What is the series you can able to see? You may be able to see like 52.164.254.106 IP address. Who assigned this IP address? You may be able to see this IP address has been assigned by the cloud service provider itself, right? It's been not assigned by me or anyone from this batch, right? Automatically, this IP address has been assigned. Now, let's create one more VM on a different data center. Instead of North Europe, let's go and create it in a Web 2 in a East US data center. I'm creating an East US data center. You can able to see, review and create it. Let's create a IP address on another one. Right now, the validation has been completed. It's been the progress. Let's wait. Right now the deployment is in progress here. Let's wait. Right now the deployment of the VM has been progress here. Let's wait. Deployment is in progress here. Let's wait for this to complete. Right now you may be able to see we have a VM2 is been created here, or Web2 is been created here. You may be able to see here Web2 is been currently it's been created in a East US region, and you may be able to see Web2 is got a different public IP address here, right? Right now, if you consider Web1 or a Web2, how the public IP address has been created? Public IP address has been created by the cloud provider, right? The IP address has been not created by us; it's been created by the cloud provider. But there are two important points you need to remember here. For example, like if you take a point number one, public IP address has been assigned by the cloud provider here. You can able to see automatically there is a public IP address has been created, right? You can able to see 1 second. So you may be noticed here when you had a web 1 and web 2, whenever you create a VM, automatically there is a public IP address has been created, and you may be able to notice here there is a private IP address also is created automatically. So that's a very, very important point. But let me take you into whiteboard. When you create a VM on in a Azure infrastructure, two important point you may be noticed here. The first point, the moment when you create a VM, this is your VM. We are given web one. You may be noticed your VM is assigned with a two IP address. One is a public IP address, and it's got a private IP address also. Now you may be noticed this public IP address and a private IP address, where exactly this has been assigned. This has been assigned on top of your network interface card. That is the point number one. Point number two, whatever public IP address you are using here, there is a cost is been involved. It's not a free product. There is a cost is involved. Now, if you go to Azure Microsoft page, the pricing page, let me take you into the pricing page. If you go to Microsoft Azure page, Azure public IP price, you may be able to see, depends upon what is the mode it's been configuring. There are different mode you can able to configure. You may be able to see there is a price tab or there is a pricing is been available for your public IP address. If you go to this Azure page here, you may be able to see the public IP address. You may be able to see per hour Microsoft is been charging different price tag. Is this point is clear? So right now we have learned 2 points. Point number one, whenever you create a VM, automatically there is a public IP address is been created. This has been assigned by the Microsoft itself, and you have a private IP address also. It's been assigned that we have been created. I'll be discussing that point possible today itself. Now the second point we have learned, whenever you create a public IP address or a private IP address, especially on the public IP address, important point you need to learn, it's a cost is been associated with. That is the first point. The third point you need to remember, each region, you may be able to see here, you have a North Europe, you got a unique IP address. When you go to East US, you got another unique address. Now let me take you into another country. Let me take you into another country here. Now let me create another computer like a web one. Instead of North or East, let me give you another country, like for example like Japan East. Let me create another server. Review and create. Let's wait for this to finish. Validation completed. Let's create a. No, Malinda, this is coming along with your VM, so you don't need to pay anything extra. That is been a complete package. So along with your VM, that will be done. So this is the cost management tool. You will be able to see that. In case if you want to see the individual price, you can able to get it from a cost management, or you can able to, you will the all the packages been coming as a cost of your VM. Let's wait for this to complete. Right now, you may be able to see here, we have a third VM is got created. Can you comment it on the chat? What is the public IP address of this VM and which data center this has been created? Can you help me to find out these details? Can you comment it on the chat? Requesting all the member to help me on that. Not the class A or B. I'm just asking what is the which data center and which location it's been created, and what is the IP address you got it. Is it same? Can you compare all the three and all the data center also? You may be able to see this has been created Japan data center. Yes. Now, if you observe all this data center, you may be noticed a pattern here, right? What is the pattern here? Each data center is got different IP address, right? North Europe, you got a one series. East US, you got another series. Japan East, you got another series, right? So the important point you need to remember, if you want, you can able to note down in your book, whatever IP address right now you are assigning, it's been a unique IP address has been assigned by the Microsoft. So each region, you will get different class or a different unique IP address in each region. Is this point is been clear? Whatever IP range you are getting on East to East, it can be on X range. Whatever range you are getting on in a Japan East, it's maybe Y range. Whatever IP address you are getting on in a North Europe, you may be having another range. Is this point is clear? Second point, you cannot bring your own IP address on in a cloud infrastructure. When you take a cloud infrastructure, you cannot bring your own public IP address. You cannot bring your own public IP address on in a cloud infrastructure. For example, like you have a on-premises data center has been available, and from the on-premises data center, you cannot take this IP address on in a cloud. For example, like if you already have a public IP address has been available in your on-premises, you cannot bring your own public IP address from cloud into on-premises to cloud. So instead of that, whatever IP address you are getting, it's been assigned from a available pool by the CSP. So is based on the each region, you will have a different unique IP address you will be getting. So I'm just writing a two important point on in the chat. I request everyone to update in your notebook. This is very important point. It's been like when we are moving as a consultant or a architect role, these two important point will be useful for you. Can we use specific public IP address in assign? No, this is completely assigned by the vendor. You have an only option to select a static IP address. Kamal is thinking like my fancy number is 7.7.7. I want this number. That's not possible here. Whatever IP address you are getting, if you want, you can able to configure as a particular IP address. If you want, you can reserve the IP address, but you don't have any option to select. Hey, my fancy number is X, so I need this. So I am only interested only for getting this IP address. So you don't have such kind of privilege or a flexibility on in a cloud to get a particular IP address. Ready? Is this point is clear? So there is a two important point we have learned. Whatever IP address you are using, that's been completely um, managed by the vendor, and there is a cost is been involved. And the third point is be like you cannot bring your own public IP address from on premises to another one also. At any point of time, if you use if you use any public IP address here, for example, like if you created a VM here, now you want to move this VM from one location to another location, you cannot use the same IP address because each region is got a different one, right? For example, like let me give you a scenario here. You are working in a you are in a college. Now in your college you have a two department. One is a chemistry department and another one is um, physics department. Now this is your chemistry building. This is your chemistry lab. This is chemistry lab. You have a physics lab also. Now in your chemistry lab, Mr. Ajmal has been connected a laptop. This is your laptop. Now in a chemistry lab, you are using 10 dot series, and physics lab, you are using 20 dot series. Normally, if you, yeah, Abdullah, I'm not, thank you for commenting that different department name. I'm just giving an exercise. For example, like if you move this laptop from this lab to this lab, what will be the IP address you are getting? You will be getting what is the IP address or the destination is been using, right? Similar way here also, when you are using a cloud infrastructure, you have a different regions are available, right? East US, North Europe, You have a Japanese, or you have a Switzerland, Sweden. There are different regions are available. Right now, we have learned each region has been using unique IP address. It's been using unique public IP address. Second important point, in case I'm giving a scenario, you have created a web one, that is a VM on in a East US data center. You are created in a East US data center. You have created a VM. Right now you got a 52 dot series IP address. Right now the East US is getting unique IP address, which is in the range 52 series. Now, what I'm trying to say here is when you are using a 52 series is East US, now you have a North Europe. North Europe is using a range of 168.x.x. This is the range Microsoft is been using on in North Europe. So the right now I'm discussing here. If you're using in North Europe for tomorrow due to some X or Y reason, the customer want to migrate this web one to North Europe. For example, like currently this is the IP address has been assigned is 52 series here. Now, in case if you're doing any migration into North Europe, what will be the IP address you can able to use it? You will be getting an IP address of 168 series. So what I'm trying to say here is, in case if you are moving from one region to another region, uh, that computer or a device will be getting an IP address of the destination one. Is this point is clear? You can able to see you have a IP address is been available on in a different IP address on in the cloud here on the different side here, right? So this point is been clear. Any questions? Team, any questions from anyone? So let me give you a couple of important points to you. Maybe this will be useful in the future. Let me type some important point. This may be helpful for you tomorrow if you're moving on in a consultant or an architect role. Give me a second and let me type it. These are the few important points you have to remember. Give me a second. Let me type this on in the chat. So this for the future one. Okay, if tomorrow you may be moving as a architect or a consultant kind of a role. So this keep this important point with you. Yeah. So I just posted some important point. I request everyone to copy this important point on in a word part. This information may be useful in a future. So just copy this all important points on in a notepad or in your OneNote. So this will be helpful for you. Clear? Super. Now, if you're good, can you put a like button on the chat? So let's do some exercise. Put a like button on the chat. I just want to ensure that all the 1676 member has been attending this one, has been following this webinar. Just to ensure that, can you just put some comment on the like button on that work note? Let me see how many people have been not at this one. Let me see. Let me take a attendance. Yes, Chris. Thank you, Robert. So who is giving you more likes? Suraj told like he will give you some chocolates. So thank you, Rian. So thank you, Robert. Yeah, Nadelis, thank you. A clear agenda. Thank you. Great. Cannot like from okay. At least you can just comment it, it's right. What is the kind of the chocolates? So Arnel is Surag has been every time he's saying he's sending a chocolate, but we are not getting right. So I think we'll take some Google Pay or a UPI numbers, right? So so Paytm number will take it this time. So great. So that's been good. Virtual chocolate we'll give. We'll send. Surag has been sending a virtual chocolate. Some photo he's been sending. Great. Okay, great. Now, right now, team, you may be followed how to create a public IP address along with your VM, right? Now, let me show you here. Public IP address is actually a different independent resource here, right? Can we customize a VM in Azure? Yes, Malinda, we can able to do. Like especially like when you are part of a provisioning team, each organization maybe need a different type of the size or a different type of the application needed inside in a cloud, right? So um, we have a different tools are available that will be allowing you to do uh, a customization of your VM. For example, like you're working for an organization, they need some particular size. All the VMs they are using, it's been using need a same kind of a customized VM you may be able to do. There are different ways we can able to do. One is been like you can use a PowerShell, or you can able to use a CLI, or you can able to use something called as ARM templates, basically known as Azure Resource Manager template. That basically known as ARM templates, or you can able to use something called as VM extension. This kind of a tool, Malinda, you can able to use, which will allow you to create a multiple. You can able to use similar or a customized VM inside Azure. We can able to do that. So we have a overall different wide range of tools are available. Always this been allowing us to create customization of your VM here. Ready? Okay, great. Now that's about on in the cloud side, right? Now coming on into the creation of a VM. Let me take you into the wide Microsoft Azure portal. If you go to Azure portal, you may be able to see right now the VM is being created along with your VM. Now we need to understand one important point here. Public IP address and VM both are independent resources. Whatever public IP address you are creating and whatever VM you are creating, that is actually it's been independent resources. You may be able to see here when you take a cloud infrastructure, you have a public IP address has been available. Public IP address is actually an independent resource. If you go to public IP address, you can able to see it's an independent resource. If you go to a search button and if you type a public IP address, you may be able to see whatever the current IP address has been currently it's been configured here. You may be able to see there is a public IP address has been configured here. You have a public IP address has been available. So with the help of that, you can able to see there is a public IP address has been configured, and it's basically it's like how public IP address has been created or what is the current IP address has been available here. All these details you can able to see on um, in a cloud scenario here. Right now, you may be able to see there is a public IP address is configured. You may be able to see this. Um, you have a Web 1, Web 2, or a Web 3. These are the resources currently it's been available on in a cloud. With the help of that, you can able to do here. Now, when you go on inside a public IP address, right now if you select one public IP address, when you open this public IP address, you may be able to see a overview tab here. Let me open this. Right now this is information is been loading. It's taking giving a details here. Right now you may be able to see. Right now this has been associated to a Web 1, and it's got an IP address 52.164 dot series here, and this has been associated to a particular network card, whatever number it's saying an information to us. Hey team, right now there is a web1 public IP address is been currently is been created. Currently I'm associated to so and so computer here. You may be able to see currently this has been associated to a particular computer here. You may be able to see this is the name you can able to see on in a cloud here. Right now you may be able to see. You may be able to see here there is a, give me a second. Give me a second, I'm just right now you may be able to see here we have a public IP address has been created and it's got an IP address 52.164 series here. Right now you may be able to see the technical word we are using, it's called association. Right now you may be able to see this has been associated to web1 computer here and is been associated to so and so network card. Now if you go to web2, you may be able to see there is a web2 is been associated and here you may be able to see there is a IP address you can able to see here, right? Are you able to see this IP address here? Right now you may be able to see the web1 has been configured with a 152. Now web2 has been assigned with a 162. Right now you may be able to see this has been associated to web2 here. Now if you go to web3, you may be able to see web3 has been configured with a public IP address here. You can able to see this web3 has been here. Right now you can able to see 20 dot series. So right now at a time one public IP address can be assigned into only with a one computer here, right? Right now you may be able to see, you can able to see this um, you can able to see like each computer has been associated with a one public IP address. So right now you may be able to see it's called association. At a time your public IP address can be associated only with one VM. Now in case if you want to create a new public IP address, you will be able to create it from here also. For example, like if you create a public IP address, you may be able to create from this public IP address creation page also. Right now, if you go to public IP address here, on the top, you may be able to see there is a public IP address here. You can able to see here, like you have a create button. Let's create. Let's wait. Let me create a public IP address here. I'm just giving a name called public IP address for my web server. Web public IP address. I'm just giving a name here. You may be able to see what is the type of the version you want. I was saying in the morning, when you're creating a public IP address, you have an option to select IP version 4, as well as you have an option for selecting IP version 6 also. So depends upon your complexity of your infrastructure, or depends upon the complexity of your uh, IP schema you are using. You will be able to select the right certifications here. You will be able to select the right IP protocol here. I'm saying IP version 4 is needed, and you may be able to see there are two mode you may be able to see here. One is been called as a basic mode, and the second one is been known as standard mode. It's basically Microsoft is been allowing there are different type of the public IP address can be configured on in a Azure infrastructure. One is been like a basic mode, and you have a standard mode also. You have a basic and standard mode. There are two type of the option you can able to see here. For example, when you take a standard mode, wherever you need a high configuration like availability or all the kind of advanced options you need, that is been supported only in a standard mode. For example, like you may be able to see like a zone redundant, like high availability options if you want to get. This needs to be configured on in a standard mode. Now, standard mode is been only supported static option only. Normally, if you take any organization in a real-time production scenarios, we will be using a standard option. Wherever you need a testing or a development, a kind of a situation is needed, we will be using a basic option. Basic option is been not supporting any kind of a availability options here. In case if you want any kind of availability option, this needs to be created with a standard mode. We need a standard mode is needed in case if you want to configure any kind of a configuration. Basically, like if you want to configure any kind of a uh, any kind of a configuration is needed, this needs to be created with a standard mode. Basically, in a complex scenarios, we will be using a standard mode you will be using here. Now, coming on into the IP address range, it's been assigned by the Microsoft itself. I'm selecting a non-zone mode. I'm just selecting the mode here. I'm just reviewing and creating a public IP address here. Let's wait. I'm just creating a public IP address options here. Review and create. Right now, you may be able to see. Right now, you may be able to see here. public IP address is got created here. Now let's go back to the public IP address. You may be able to see the fourth one. It's been created in the East US data center. Right now, if you go to the right side, it's been not assigned to any computer here. For example, like if you go to the properties here, right now you may be able to see associate tab. Currently, it's been activated here. See, you can able to see now associate button is been activated here. Now, if you go to all other computers, public IP address, see, associate button has been disabled here. The reason it's been like that IP address has been already it's been mapped. Right now, web public IP address is saying, hey admin, I'm working as in a free now. I'm working in a pool. Currently, I'm not associated to any computer here. See, it's been not associated to any computer. See, at any point of time, if you want to use this public IP address to particular Vnic or a particular VM, you can able to associate from here, right? You have a button here like associate, and if any VM or a load balancer or a network interface card is been available here, you can able to assign here. See, right now this network card is already got one public IP address. For example, like if you have a multiple NIC card is been available, you will be in a position to assign this public IP address. So right now we are discussing about a two important point here. One is called associate and disassociate. We'll take a break now. After a break, we'll discuss about in which situation we are going to use a associate, which situation we are going to use a disassociate. What is the reason behind that? We'll take a 5 minutes break. After a break, we'll be going to discuss about how public IP address has been configured here. Now, James, only one day you need to fill the attendance form. In case if you already filled the attendance form yesterday, no need to fill it today. In case if you have been, if the first time if you are attending, please make sure that you are giving a proper name on the attendance tracker, because your certificates have been generated based on whatever information you were in populating on in the attendance sheet. Thank you. Let's take a short break, tea break, and come back. After a break, we'll be discussing about how to assign a private IP address and how to assign a association and disassociation on in a cloud scenario. Thank you. Taking a small break, and we'll be back soon. I hope you are back. Look like I forgot to enable this clock link. Yeah, all the recordings are done. It's been available. It's been available in the Discord channel, and it will be available on the YouTube channel as well. So whatever sessions we have been discussing today, it's been you'll be getting recordings. We'll try to get it, Abdullah, today. So before winding, so once it's been done and uploaded, um, Surag will be sharing you that detail. So we need to just be little patient. So we'll be sharing you that link, recording link, and other details for the study material soon. I hope all are back. If yes, can you comment it on the chat, and we can go ahead with the next. Okay, now let's start with the next portion. It's called association and disassociation of public IP address. So far, we have been discussed about how to assign a public IP address. Now, when we had a discussion about a public IP address, a couple of points we have been learned. The important point we have learned, it's been like public IP address cost has been involved, right? You may be learned whenever you create a public IP address, there is a cost is been associated, and obviously this cost, if it is involved, that has been affecting the total financial part of your project or a client also. Now, when it is coming on in a real-time scenario, you may be noticed whenever you create a VM, for example, like you create a VM1 or you create a VM2 or any number of devices you've been created, automatically the VM is actually assigned with a public IP address, right? With the help of that, you are allowed to, or you are able to connect the computer with the help of that, right? So you have already have a public IP address is been assigned to all the VM which has been created inside your VM. Now we have some concerns here. You take a scenario, you have a 10,000 VM has been configured inside a project. You think all this VM has been configured with a public IP address. Can you comment it on the chat? What are the normal concerns you are going to get it from a client if all your VM has been assigned with a public IP address? What are the normal concerns you are going to get it from a client? Can you comment it on the chat? One, it's going to be customer may say, I'm not using all this 10,000 VM for a internet. There is a cost is going to be a problem, right? Because if I have a 10,000 public IP address has been assigned to my computer, I need to pay that cost for that, because already we understood whatever VM currently you're using, whatever public IP address you are using inside a cloud, there is a cost is been associated. Whatever public IP address you have been created here, it's not a free product. There is a cost is been associated. So obviously we need to pay the cost or the amount for that. Second point, there is a chance of network compromise also, right? You think a scenario, all your computers are exposed to internet, there is a chance of exposing to cloud, right? You hope you may be clear about this one, right? When you configured a cloud in scenario, when you have a computer is been available, all this is been connected to a cloud infrastructure into a internet, there is a chance of network security compromise, right? There is a chance of network security compromise here. So there is a chance of your network is been compromised here. So that is an important point you need to remember here. So that's the reason normally in an organization will be removing the public IP address from the resources. wherever you need the internet, wherever exactly wherever you need the internet or external access, only to that devices only will be assigning a public IP address. Second thing is been like Abdul has been commented on the chat. DDoS attack, kind of a malware kind of a attack, is one of the common threat normally we are facing on in a IT infrastructure. We need to avoid or we need to mitigate all this kind of a vulnerabilities or issues in a infrastructure. That the reason normally in a IT infrastructure will be reducing the number of the devices being configured with a public IP address. We ensuring that whatever public IP address has been configured, that's been completely it's been controlled or it's been limited also. So removing a public IP address from in a device basically used a word called disassociation, the technical term which you are going to use it in a normally in an infrastructure, that's called disassociation. The technical term you are going to use it in a cloud infrastructure, that's called disassociation. So that may be the right word you can able to use in a cloud side. Now I'll show you how disassociation can be done. Now let me give you two scenario. One, it's been like you are creating a VM. Second one is you already created a VM. You have a two scenario it's been coming. One, you already had an existing created VM. Second one, it's been like you have a new VM. I'm giving two scenarios here. One, already have a created VM, and second one, it's been like you are going to create a new one. So the technical term we are using is here is called disassociation. How to remove your public IP address? So the right terminology we are using here is called disassociation. Let me show you how this has been done. Now, if you go to cloud scenario, let me go to the cloud portal. Let me go to the cloud portal here. Let me create a first VM here. Okay. Then let me show you how a new VM can be created without a public IP address. Now, let me go to the cloud portal. Let me go to the virtual machine tab. We are trying to create a new virtual machine here. Right now, I'm just going for creating a new VM. I selected the VM is being new. Let's create a VM here. I'm just creating a VM name. It's called Web4. Let me create it in Central India. Now I'm just given all my basic details. For example, like unfortunately that configuration is not available. So let me go to East US. Unfortunately, I don't have sufficient privilege inside that region. So let me create a 2016 here. Created admin. Details here. Now you may be able to see there is a network tab, or you may be able to see there is a network configuration you can able to see on in a cloud portal here. Something called as networking tab. You can able to go networking tab here. Right now, you may be able to see a option here, something called as public IP address here. Right now, you may be able to see whenever you create a new virtual machine, automatically the public IP address is being created. You know how it is being created? Right now, it's been created automatically. The public IP address has been created here, saying that, hey, admin, I'm going to create a new public IP address here. Now, right now we are discussing about how to disassociate or how to create a VM without public IP address. So you can able to select an option. It's called none here. When you create a VM on the networking tab, if you select a public IP address, option is been none. you are able to select a VM, or you will be able to provision a VM without a public IP address. So right now I have been selected an option called none, and let me provision this one. Let's wait. Right now this VM creation is in progress here. Let's wait for this. Validation has been completed. Let's create. Right now this has been created here. Deployment is in progress here. Let's wait for this to complete. Right now the deployment is in progress here. Right now you may be able to see here, your VM is got created here. Now, if you go to the virtual machine tab, you may be able to see web 4 is being created without a public IP address here. I know you may be having a lot of questions here. In case if the public IP address is been not available, how do we connect to this VM? That may be the another discussion. I'll be coming to that point in the later point here. Right now, you may be able to see the web 4 is been created without a public IP address. For example, like if you go to web 4 properties, you may be able to see this VM it's been configured without a public IP address here. So the term we are using is called disassociation, but it's got a private IP address. Okay, you may be seeing it's got a private IP address that can be used internally. Now I'm discussing about how public IP address has been configured here. Let's wait. Now, when you go to another computers, this already is got public IP address here, right? Now, let's see how existing VM is been configured with a public IP address. How do we remove public IP address from that computer? If you go to web portal here, all of us are already familiar. Public IP address has been assigned to network card. So you can go to networking tab. On the networking tab, you can go to network interface. On the network interface, you may be able to see an option called IP configuration. You can select on that. And you may be able to see there is an option called IP configurations here. The moment when you open this one, this will be taking to another window where you can able to associate and disassociate. Right now, I'm discussing a second scenario. You already have a couple of VMs been created. Right now, we are familiar in case if I'm using a public IP address inside a cloud, there is a cost is been involved. Now I'm discussing how to remove that. That is a important point. Right now we are discussing how to remove or how to connect to that VM without a public IP address. So at the moment, if I'm selecting disassociate, it's going to remove whatever public IP address currently it's been configured here. Now, once the option has been selected disassociated, on the top, you may be able to see an option called save in a floppy disk kind of a symbol you may be able to see here. Select that option. You may be able to see this option is being created here. Let's wait for this. Let's wait for this. Let's wait for this to save. Look like this has been completed now. Now, if you go back to the virtual machine, you may be able to see here. You have a second VM also. It's been removed, or it's been public IP address is got removed from here. You may be able to see here public IP address is got removed from here. So the same step or the process you can able to follow in case if you want to remove any public IP address. You need to just go to network card properties. You have a networking tab you can able to see here. In the networking tab, you have an option for removing this one, right? If you go to IP configuration, on the IP configuration, you have an option for disassociate. So this is the way normally the IP address is been removed. Now, which scenario you're removing the public IP address? In case if you want to save a cost, or in case if you want to avoid any kind of a network compromise inside your network, then you can able to go for a you can able to go for a disassociation of your public IP address here. Yes, Malinda, it's been like the public IP address and the private IP address which you are using on in a cloud. IP address is been always is been configured on in the Ethernet card. You may be remembering like when you're using a on-premises network, where exactly your public IP address has been configured, or where your IP address has been configured on a on-premises device. You may be remembering that maybe device assigned on into a network card, right? So you may be configured on in a network card. You may be able to see here. It's been configured on in a network card. It's been configured on in a on-premises device. So the same concept is been using here also. Whenever you use any kind of a um, infrastructure site, basically it's been configured on in the network card only. IP address is always is been configured on in the network card only. So that's the important point you maybe need to remember here. Is this point has been clear? Any questions? Now, possible I'll show you one more example here. How to associate a IP address also. Right now we have seen how we have been removed an IP address, right? How we have been disassociated here. Now let me show you how to associate an IP address here. Right now, if you go to a public IP address, you may be able to see we have a 4 public IP address. Currently, it's been available here. When you go to this IP address, each IP address, you may be able to see currently this has been not associated to any network card or any VM here. See, there is not web IP2 is been not associated to any VM. Now, at any point of time, now that your client is saying, "Hey, Sujit, I need a public IP address for my computer." One option is been like you can create a new public IP address. Second option, if you have a public IP address available on in your bucket or in a pool, you can able to see, you can able to go to VM properties. On the VM properties, you can able to select the networking tab. On the networking tab, you have an option for associate, right? The point, if you select a networking here and select IP config network card, you can create. Now on the network card properties, you will have a IP configuration tab is been available. If you go to the IP configuration, you have an option for associate. Now the moment when you select associate button here, your system will ask which IP currently needs to be associated. So whatever IP currently has been showing here, or it's been configured with, or it's been available on in your pool. Currently, whatever IP address currently it's been showing here, you have a public IP address which has been available in the pool, which has been not associated to any of the computer here. Clear? Is this point is been clear? Right now I'm saying this is the IP address free here in a public IP address pool. So if I'm saving here, this will create it here. Clear? Right now you may be able to see here. Can we assign one PFT to multiple VM? No, Abdul, that has been not possible here. Let me answer your question in a practical way here. Let me show you, Abdul, here. Let me show you here. Right now, you may be able to see you have a public IP address. Abdul, you can just notice here. You have a multiple public IP address has been currently available. Let's take a first public IP address. Abdul, can you comment it on the chat? Currently, where this has been associated, you may be able to see this has been associated to web1 computer here, right? See, it's been part of a so network and web1 here, right? Yes. Now, are you getting any option for associating or attaching this public IP address to another one? Are you able to see here? There is a option. See, are you getting any option? No here, right? Because at a time, one public IP address can be mapped to only one. Now, there are some point, if you want to do any kind of a cost reduction, especially if you're using a gem server or a gateway server, then you may be able to use a concept called natting. In case if you have a natting has been available, Abdul, you may be able to use multiple private IP address or multiple VM can use a single public IP address. You may have to enable a feature, something called as a natting. Yes, with the help of a natting, network address translation. So with the help of that, you can able to do a workaround solution, or you can able to use a couple of VMs on in a cloud. Clear? Is this point is clear? Network, yes, exactly. Fernaz, you're right. The point. Any questions from anyone? Let me pause it here for taking your Q&A. We are getting another questions. If I want to save a cost and dynamic assign when we are creating a public edit, does that mean VM will have a public that may change everything? Yes. Um, that is an interesting question. Another Neil, right? Yeah. But we have a concern also here, Nadavin. The reason is like if I'm pronouncing your name in the wrong way, so extremely sorry for that. So I hope it's been, I'll use the term nada. So yeah, nada, it's like in case if you have a question is been coming on a dynamic scenario, let me take you into a situation. We are on in a customer place. You have a VM is been configured. Now you have a VM is been configured. You have a web server is been configured on this network. Right now we understood when you're configuring a public IP address, public IP address can be configured in a two mode. One is a static mode, and you have a dynamic mode also. It's been available, right? Now, Nada has been asking a question. What will happen if I'm configuring this server in a dynamic mode? Yes, there is no problem. There's a you have an option for assigning a dynamic IP address to your. But the problem here, it's been like the moment you assign a dynamic IP address, you're already aware that whenever you're configuring a web server on an application pool, you are mapping your dynamic IP address, right? You may be remembering like you may be mapping your dynamic IP address with your public IP address. Now you think a scenario, you have a dynamic IP address has been assigned to your VM, and every time if the computer is been rebooting, and if your dynamic IP address has been keep on changing, what will happen to your application? Customer may escalate saying that my application has been not working. You may be having a kind of a dependency issue you have, right? You may be having issues like you may be able to um, not able to use, or you may be not able to use the existing or a old public IP address which has been already mapped to your web server. So you will have a concerns because you will not be able to use such kind of IP address on in a portal, because you will have a concerns either because every time the IP address is been keep on rebooting, right? So that is a problem here. Ready? Any questions? So that's an important point. You need to remember on in a cloud side. Basically, like when you want to configure any kind of a association or disassociation, this is the method we have been followed on in the past. Let me pause it here for taking your questions. If you're good, you can comment it on the chat. Then I can go ahead with the next part of the questions here. Any questions from anyone? Team, are we good with this concept, or do you want me to discuss any topic on this whatever module so far it's been covered? Um, Abdul asking one wonderful questions here. What will happen to what will happen if I'm using a public IP address on my virtual machine? That normally it will basically create a kind of conflict, Abdul. Normally we won't be following that in a real or in a production scenarios. So it's will not be using that. So how to auto update a dynamic IP address using a Cloudflare? Okay. So we are getting another questions from a uh, on the chat. How do we update a dynamic IP address using a Cloudflare? You maybe heard about a concept called DDNS, right? You can use a dynamic DDNS. That is the normally we are using that. So you can able to follow a option. It's called DDNS. So this is the uh, step normally I used to follow. I can able to give you some work around that. Give me a second. I think I have a note for that. Yeah. So this is the method we used to follow here. Answering to Amir Arif, your question. So this is the step I used to follow in a Cloudflare scenarios. You can follow these steps. Now I'm getting another question. Can we configure IP address in a dynamic mode, but will reserve a MAC address? No. In case if John, if you're reserving that, then that is a static IP address. So you won't be having an option like a configuring dynamic mode and reserving. In case if you're reserving, that is a static IP address. So you cannot configure that mode. What is the difference between static IP address from ISP and a public IP address? Uh, that both are same only. The public IP address can be configured in a two mode. One is a static mode and another one is a public mode here. Clear? So you have a option is been available. With the help of that, you can able to configure in both the mode. So that is a way generally normally it's been configured. I think we are good with this public IP address portion. Now let me go on into the private IP address option. Now when it is coming on in a cloud scenario, you have a internal resources also it's been available on in a cloud, right? For example, like right now, whatever point we have been discussed, how to connect to internet, how do we use different resources for an internal network. Now, when it is coming on into internal network, right now I'm giving a scenario like you have a VM is being you have a public IP address has been available that is been connected to internet. On in the other side, you have a private IP address been available, which will allow you to connect to internal resource. Internal resource means that you may be connecting your VM with another VM. You have a couple of VM has been available inside your network. You may be having a VM has been available on into multiple network. You have a multiple VMs has been available. Then you have a VM is been available here, right? You may be having a multiple VM, or you this VM may be going and communicating with a firewall, or this may be going and communicating to storage account, or this may be going and communicated to database. So you may be having a multiple resources or a devices are available that is going to communicate each other. Now the question is been coming, how your VM is going to communicate to internally? So the answer for that question is private IP address. Now how the private IP address is been configured? It's been configured with the help of a concept called Vnet. Let me give you a scenario. Right now on in your home, we had a discussion like how your laptop or a mobile is getting a internet on in your home, right? You may be seeing you have a router or Wi-Fi device is been available. This Wi-Fi device is been distributing internal IP address to your computer for your laptop, your mobile. You have another laptop is been available. All this been communicated with the help of this router. When you go to office, you have a DHCP server is been available. inside your DHCP server, you may be configured a option called scope. With the help of a scope, all your VMs or a resource is been getting a network inside in your internally, right? All your computer is getting a internal IP address. So with the help of that, the communication is been enabled. Now, when it is coming on in a normal scenario, how a VNet is been configured on in a cloud. It's basically configured with a concept called Vnet. In an on-premises scenario, you may be able to use a DHCP or a similar kind of a feature you may be using. But when it is coming on an Azure scenario, all your internal IP address are assigned with your VNet. For example, the moment when you create a VM, technically your VM is got a network interface card. This network interface card is finally connecting to a VNet. I'm talking about in a normally in a cloud scenario, how this has been communicated. I'm saying it's been communicated with the help of a VNet here. You may be remembering like in your on-premises scenario, if you want to connect to VM, how this has been connected. Your VM will be connected to hub or switch, and the network communication is being established. But when it is coming on in an Azure scenario, your VM has been actually associated with your VNet. So your computer has been associated to VNet, and this communication has been established with the help of that. Ready? I hope this point has been clear. Now, let's see how your VNet has been configured here. Now, a couple of points you need to remember here. When it is coming on in a Azure scenario, your private IP address is actually configured on top of your VNet. On top of your VNet, your private IP address has been configured. With the help of that, your VNet is been with the help of that your VNet is been configured here. Now, the moment when you configure a VNet, always we need to configure a range of IP address that basically known as address space. The moment when you connect, you are creating an address space. With the help of that, you are creating or you are adding or you are distributing a IP address here. So what will be the address space you are going to use? You will be using 10 dot series or 172 series or 192 series, whatever private IP address normally it's been supported on in a IT infrastructure, whatever public IP address we have been discussed, you will be using that. I'll come to the subnet portion tomorrow. I'm not Abdul. I'll come to that point in the later stage. Right now, let's try to understand about how VNet is been configured here. Let me go back to the whiteboard. Sorry, the Microsoft portal. Let me connect to the portal here. Let me delete whatever resources currently it's been created. So that will help you to understand. Give me a second. Delete this.
Right now we are clearing this old one. So let's wait for your existing resource to delete it here. Let's wait. We're waiting for this to clear the existing resources. It will take 2 to 3 minutes. Right now, this creation has been coming. Yes, right now this production network it's got deleted here. So let's wait. Now I don't have any. I think you have a couple of public IP addresses here. Let's delete that as well. Otherwise you may get confused. Let's delete this as well. Delete this. It's been deleted here. Now let me create a new VM here. We are trying to see how IP address has been created here on in a private side. Let me go to the Azure virtual machines. I'm giving a name called Orange is the resource group name. Name I'm giving is a VM1. I'm going to create a VNet, or it's been like I'm going to create a private IP address range in a East to West data center. Let me select the availability option has been no infrastructure. Now, if you go to the networking tab, you may be able to see an option called virtual network. Now, this is the place where you can able to define your VNet. I'm saying I have a production VNet, and you may be able to see this is the place where you can able to define your range. Normally, whatever address range you are configuring here, this will be either 10 dot series or 172 series or 192 series. Whatever private IP address range we have been discussed yesterday and today, That range will be configured in a subnet mode here. Right now, you may be able to see you have configured with a 10.0.0.16, and you may be able to see it's capable to provide 65,536 IP address. 65,536 IP address you are able to assign to your computer here. Now, in case if you are changing this subnet value here, for example, like if you are giving 15, you may be able to see the range it's been given, it's been like a 1,31,072 IP address here. Let's see here how this has been practically assigning this IP address. Let me go for a default value. Right now, don't worry about this subnet portion. I'll discuss it in tomorrow's session. Right now, you may be able to see I have created a VNet here. I have selected a range here that's called 10.0.0.16. I'm just giving OK, review, and create here. Let's wait. Let's wait for a few minutes to complete. Validation is completed. Yes, it's a default value. Yes, CADR is called classless in the domain routing. Default value is been 16. If you want, you can able to change it. If you want, you can able to change it also. Right now, the deployment is in progress here. Right now, the deployment is in progress here. Right now, you may be able to see here. We have a VM is been got created here. If you go to the virtual machine, you may be able to see here. You have a VM1 is got created in a East US region. Since I didn't done any kind of actions on in a public IP address because I didn't disassociated here, public IP address is automatically created here. Now we are discussing about a private IP address here. If you go to this VM properties, you may be able to see this private IP address assigned to this computer. Now it's been 10.0.0.4. Technically, if you go to this whiteboard, you may be able to understand in a East US region, we have created a VNet. We have defined a VNet in a East US region. Range you have been specified 10./16. Currently, we have created a VM. VM is been associated to this VNet. Technically, what happened? It's got IP address 0.4. I know you may be having a question. What happened to 1, 2, 3? I'll be discussing that point in the tomorrow session. So right now the VM1 is got created and it's got an IP address from this range. Now, if you go back to this cloud, let me create one more VM. Let's see practically how this has been assigning a VM on into the second computer. Right now, if you go to the cloud here, I'm just giving VM2 on the same data center. Let's give you this basic details. We do the networking. I'm assigning to the same network here. Review and create. Validation, some error message we got. Let's create. Oh, look like the password is given wrong. Review and create. Validation completed. Let's wait for this to finish. Let's wait for this deployment to complete. Deployment has been completed now here. Now, if you go to the virtual machine option here, you may be able to see VM2 is got created. If you go to the properties, you may be able to see VM2 is been attached to the same network. That's called a prod VNet. You may be able to see the VM1. VM1 also it's been attached to the prod VNet here. See, it's been attached to the production VNet here. Now, if you go to the VM properties here, what is the IP address is received? It's got 10.0.0.5 here. Means the moment when you attach any VM on into the same VNet, for example, like if you created into the same network, from this address range, one IP address has been assigned here, 10.0.0.5. Is this point has been clear? So when it is coming on in Azure, IP address are assigned from VNet. Is this point is clear? Now tomorrow I'll be discussing about how multiple VNet can be created What is the importance of a subnet? In case if you created a subnet or a VNet, how the communication is been established inside a cloud infrastructure. Let me pause session here before winding up. If you have any question, requesting you to confirm, you can post it on the chat window so we can go for a Q&A now. If you have any questions, any doubts, if you're good, requesting you to comment it on the chat. Can you comment it on the chat box? If you're good and the concept is been clear, requesting everyone to confirm. Uh, Gabriel, I'm not seeing your questions on the chat window. That the reason this question is been not discussed. I'm working as a cloud operation, particularly on Azure, and new to the cloud. That's a clustering and availability is a different feature. Possible like Gabriel last day I can able to cover that. This basically coming under a session is called AZ104. Richie, I'll discuss that point tomorrow. That basically known as IP reservation. The concept is been coming. IP reservation. IP address 0, 1, 2, 3 has been already reserved one. One is been using for a gateway, 2 and 3 for a DNS. I'll be discussing that point tomorrow's session. So clustering, whatever question has been asked about a clustering, possible Gabriel, I'll spend a time on the last day. So that's been actually coming on a different vertical training, not on in the AZ700 here. So thank you team. Have a great day and over to you, Surak.
Thank you, Robin, for this session. And I hope everyone is able to understand and grasp the concept and excited for the next or tomorrow session. So please do make sure you check out the chat box for the links regarding the sessions or any resources. Also, our community links to join so that you will get updates about upcoming sessions or tomorrow's reminders. And thank you all again. And I see there is no more questions. If that's the case, we can wind up the training for today and resume tomorrow, same time. Thank you.